These are the haunting images of women enslaved in Japanese military brothels during World War II. They were all from third world countries, and their story was largely untold until now. They form part of a hard-hitting new exhibition about the role of third world countries during the global conflict, and leaves many answers about the veracity and truth of official history books. It's essentially a decolonized history of the war, which affected many nations and continents around the world, but whose story in history is unheard.
All contributions of the Third World to liberate the world from fascism is almost ignored. We started to do research with a collective of journalists, investigative journalists in Germany 20 years ago. We traveled to 30 countries and we were quite shocked ourselves by the result that almost half of the history of the Second World War is missing in our history books.
Some of those unknown facts include the Third World suffering more losses than Germany, Italy and Japan combined, and sending more troops than Europe. It's a factual history with a haunting imagery to boot, which include China, which lost millions of lives pre- and post-conflict.
We got eyewitness accounts of victims who survived the massacre in Nanking, which is famous in history. But this massacre in Nanking, where the Japanese killed about 300,000 Chinese and raped about 80,000 women in a period of several weeks, happened at the end of 1937 or beginning of 1938, when in our history books the Second World War hasn't even begun.
There's also a dedicated exhibit on South Africa's role during the conflict and the role some of the unsung heroes played. The Castle of Goodhope served as a base for South African forces during the campaign, but when the war ended, not everybody's role was acknowledged.
Over a third of our armed forces were black. They're almost written out of history. And this is a terrible injustice.
When they returned from the war, only received a bicycle like the one you see in the background, whilst the other people were received back as heroes.
Now the exhibition will run until the end of June, whereafter it will head up to Pretoria for its next showing, and will no doubt be an important lesson in history for all to see. Travers, CGTN, Cape Town.